How was it like having a rainbow baby afterwards?
Oh, I'm freaking terrifying, basically. I mean, it was very exciting, but it just the entire time, like you said, it drags on. It dragged on for so long. And then, being sick on top of it, I was so afraid because, like, at first she was in a normal percentile and then she dropped like 20 some points to like the 17th percentile of weight. And I'm like, I'm not feeding her, I'm failing her. Like, it was just, but then, I hate to say I didn't celebrate her because I did. It was just really hard to believe she was coming home. And I didn't believe she was coming home until she came out. And I don't like that I thought that way. I wanted to do it different, but it is what it is. It's my truth. And I have good reason for doing it. Um, but it was really hard. We were really excited, but it was always, holding our breath because I mean, just like we were there, we were at the end. I threw a touchdown pass and they dropped it. Like we were there. And so until I heard her cry, it was just so hard. And I'm preaching to the choir. It was just, there was so many happy moments, but it was scary. I looked forward to those weekly ultrasounds because I needed to know that she was alive. And to be fair, anytime I was really afraid, my doctor was like, go into the OB then, or go into the ER. You can see your baby. It's not a big deal. Tell them I sent you. But it's a whole other world. And I think there's this one group called Push Pregnancy. Have you ever heard of it, Danielle?
I don't think so.
Or any of you guys? They're doing like it's more for stillbirth, but they're working on doing rainbow clinics, like clinics specifically for birthing persons who have lost a child before. So it has like therapy, OB specialized who go through training of what it's like, and like a clinic dedicated to it. And I just think that's the dream for lost parents, is having people who understand the importance from the OB side, having a therapist.
When you were pregnant with your rainbow, and I'm sure you heard it all, so it's not weird asking this. When people tried to support you and said things that just weren't quite there, like if you were afraid or if you had anxiety, what is your best advice for somebody to support their friend or their family member who's pregnant with a rainbow? How can we best support someone? Because it's not all wonderful. It's not all going to be okay now. Because you've seen the other side and you know that's not true. How can we best support our
I
loved
think
ones?
acknowledging that, just exactly as you said it, acknowledging that, the whole everything's going to be okay. Well, no, it's not. And just acknowledging that, if I say, hey guys, I'm having a day where I can't stop thinking about Carsen being dead. I remember it. I'm afraid I'm going to see it here. They would say something like, Megan, I get it. I can understand why you feel that way. What do you need? What do you need? It was never, you can't think that way. It was never, don't think that way. It was like, I can get it, just validating that these emotions aren't wrong. It's not wrong to be feeling this way, but that they're valid. And it's like, well, what can we do to help you right now? Like asking, how can I help? What do we need? Do you want to do you need to talk to me in this capacity of like working it out? Do we need to process it? Or do you just need to say it and say it out loud? Because sometimes saying it out loud helps. I'm afraid because I remember what Carsen looks like dead, and I'm afraid I'm going to see this daughter dead too. And sometimes saying it out loud just takes it away, almost like secrets keep us sick. So if we say it out loud, it gives you a space to say it, it clears the air, and it's done it. And just listening, just being present, it's not, I think so often maybe TV, social media things make support look like this huge, big thing, like act. It doesn't have to be. It's just, validating concerns, not minimizing them, and just being a safe space to share them. So, because I never, like when my husband, bless him, I would be like, I'm failing her. She's going to die too, and the bad times, like when you get scared, you say things like that. And he'd like, well, that's just not true. Hearing that's not true isn't what I need to hear. Like I'm sure it makes sense to think that, but I just needed the validation of being heard, that my fear is being heard. And I think that's being heard. I'm just rambling, I think, but like
Oh, no, this
being
is beautiful. Please.
being heard and, just being present with your friend in the moment, not changing the subject. It's just like it's right after their child dies, don't change the subject, sit with them, follow their lead, and just validate them. And, and I think that's good enough. And staying. Yeah, it's hard to stay around grief-stricken people because we're not fun and we're flighty and we forget things. But staying through that, just stay with us.
Now, what was life after you had your second daughter? What was life like for you? Because now you have a newborn. Now,
So good.
And so did you have any, like, was everything kind of smooth sailing, or was like we already know fourth trimester is like a real thing and, whatever, but did you have anything that was, I don't want to say triggering, but had moments of like, because now you have like, you have to face the reality of both your kids, even though, because one's not there and one's there, two girls. And it's like, and the knowledge of this is how old my oldest would be, and this is how old my baby is, and where life would be. Did you ever bump into those walls that I'm sure all of us experience, and how did you get through them?
Yeah, I do. A lot of the times I would sit with Kinsley in the fourth trimester and I just rock her. And I would just cry because I would think about all that I missed out on. And when you don't have a living child after yet, you don't have any point of reference to what you are missing out on. So with every milestone and every sweet moment, I think about what was taken and what I missed out on with her. I didn't have any knowledge of just how beautiful life was or is. And I didn't get that with her. And then when Kinsley's got her first cold at like 8 weeks, I thought she was going to die. And totally irrationally, I took her to the doctor. He said he told her to prop her up to prop up her crib. We did not. Yeah, that's the face I made. I was like, sweet Jesus. We didn't, but I thought she was, it's just one of those things where I was like, I'm going to watch her die too. And I'm just not going to make it. But it's just how I get through that is, just honoring the feeling. You have to feel it. Pushing it down isn't making it go away. It's only making it stronger. You have to feel it. And so now when I sit there and I rock Kinsley, who is so much bigger now, and I want to cry because she's so big, I just think that Carsen's there. Like, I know she's there. And, she wouldn't want me to be super sad rocking her sister. So I cry for a second, I feel it, but then I focus on how blessed and, just how happy I am. Maybe not blessed, but happy. I wasn't happy for so long. And now I'm just so content and happy with her. And I always miss Carsen, but I feel her in my relationship with Kinsley. Like, she's never not a part of it. And I don't know how to explain how that happens. I think just like in your house, in my home, Carsen is here. Carsen is a very much part of our family. And so Kinsley doesn't understand what I'm saying, but I'm like, your sister Carsen. And she sees pictures and she's like, baby. And so it's just, you have to acknowledge that you're hurting and you have to sit with it and you have to get comfortable with it and don't bury it. And then just kind of the grief and the happiness then just kind of exist together and you feel both at the same time. And I'm not trying to kick the grief away. It has a place that's representative of my love. And there's not really that much difference between grief and love. So I feel it at the same time. So now I rock Kinsley and I think that Carsen's there too. And or I rock a little bear with her because Kinsley likes to hold a little bear now. So I have them both. And that gives me some peace. Just taking in the moments to appreciate what we have in the moment. And then I think about she's never going to be this small again either. So just appreciating that.
Mm-hmm. And we have, and I will tell you, because, my son grew up looking at pictures of his brother. They're all on the walls. People talk about him. He knows we talk about him. And I always worried, oh my gosh, how do I explain this as he gets older? How do I explain
Right.
where his brother is? How do I explain things? And, he's 5 and he's very intelligent. And I had explained a long time ago, like, your brother's cremated. I had to like explain things, like not all the details. Like I'm waiting until he
Right.
gets older, but he does know, like, and he talks about him and tells me different things about him that it almost amazes me because it's normally out of nowhere. And like, so here's my 5-year-old that will say, "Good morning, Gavin." Like we wake up and that's his thing, is like sometimes he comes to, wake me up, and that's what he does. Or he says, me and my brother are doing this, or he has his own little like relationship that we just kind of are like, whatever you want to do, and just kind of let him do his own thing. And that's his thing. But like the first time he ever did it, he was like, it was a long time ago, when the first time he ever said, "Good morning, Gavin," first off, I was like, it takes your breath away, you know what I
Right.
mean? And it's just kind of one of those where he has like a little routine that he sees, because we have his urn, and he knows that's his brother and everything. And he talks to it, and he knows we go places with it sometimes. And so like we have our own little life that we do that's a little bit differently than what other people probably expect, but it works for us. So one day she's going to get older, and she's going to be a similar thing of like, where, and especially now, like, he was baby brother, now he's becoming a big brother, but he still knows he has a big brother too. So it's like, the relationship changed, but he knows like, now I have to take the role of a
Big
bigger
brother.
brother too. And so it's like, it's very interesting to watch like your family like change and evolve over the years, because it's like, our children are so part of our lives. I think a lot of people don't realize that. They just think like, especially you have a baby and they're like,
Right.
oh, the first one doesn't matter anymore. Like, you know what I mean? It's almost like the loss is all healed and it's all better,
Yeah.
and you're all magically put together and everything's, but it's not like that. And I noticed that a lot of people were around for my rainbow. Like a lot of people surrounded me with my rainbow. But then when I went to have another baby, there was like nobody but my closest people that I can trust, that I
Right.
already knew no matter what, they're not going to fail me. You know what I mean? Like those are my rocks right there. But
That's your tribe.
everyone else was there because it was that, this
That
is the
healing.
rainbow baby. This is that healing. And that's what I have to like accept now, that a lot of the healing that they were, it's more for them. It was like,
Yeah.
I need to be around these parents. They're having their rainbow baby from this terrible experience. But then as my family's growing, they don't realize like having another kid is not another walk in the park. Like just because it's not a
No.
rainbow baby, it's freaking scary. And it's like, and you have all these other things and you're not healed. having a baby does not heal you. It actually makes
No.
it exactly like you just said. Everything that you never realized is gone. All those moments, feeding your baby, bathing your baby, changing their diaper, waking up in the night for them, like all these things that you're doing with this baby, you realize you should have already done this way before this happened. This should be your second time and you should be like a pro at everything that you do. And then there's all those moments of like the first time moments of like, what do I do here? Is this normal? All these questions. Well, then it gets even worse, because somewhere in there you have grief, where you think, I'm not doing it right, I'm failing. And then you just start going in the spiraling downward thing of like how you somehow think you're this terrible parent. And it just goes off in this weird, terrible, irrational, doesn't make any sense place. But it's your grief talking, because again, somewhere in there, you should have already done this. You should already have this knowledge. This should be your second time doing it. You should have another kid running around. Why?
Yeah, I'm not a first-time mom, but I have no clue what I'm doing.
But I'm a first-time mom. Exactly what you're saying. It's a weird place. Like it almost doesn't make any sense, because you're not a first-time mom, but you're treated like a first-time mom.
Yeah.
But grieving at the same time. So it's like,
yeah,
it's a whole nother world,
Right. Like
So,
I figured out how to parent an angel child. I do not quite understand how to do the living child. So that was, guess that's what it was. Like, with the angel baby, it's like you talk about them, you show pictures, you do certain things. And then I have this living baby, and I'm like, what do I do? I prepared for this already. I did prepare, in 2018, I was prepared, but then that preparation went away because that's not what I needed to parent Carsen. And then it's just people ask you a new mom? Well, yes and no. Um,
yeah.
yes and no. Like we just had our first Mother's Day in May, but I mean, I've been a mom since 2019. It was just it's just surreal. I guess that's the best word because there's no other way to describe it in that, I've been a mom for 3.5 years, but I only have, but, my daughter is 14 months. Like it just,
Your
it's so
working
weird.
experience is only 14 months for that.
Right.
Like, well, on the job training. Yeah.
My on the job trainings thus far is only here. But that's why I feel so silly because I'm like asking my due date group from Carsen because we all kept in touch. I was like, well, I need all this advice. And it's so weird because I gave birth at the same time as these women. But here I am asking for like newborn stuff and they're way past it. I mean, they still answer, but they're more like, we're potty training or they're already potty trained. And I'm like, how do I get her to eat her vegetables? It's so weird. And you nailed it with everybody wants to be awesome. I loved having everybody there for the rainbow. But I think you're right in that they think it's this healing and it's a gift. It's not a healing. Like it's a gift to the soul to have this other baby if you want it. A baby isn't always a gift to the soul and not saying it has to be. But if you want another baby, it's a gift to the soul but it doesn't mean you're healed. It doesn't mean you're healed. And there's no time that will heal this. You'll get better. Things will move on. You'll come to a day where you don't cry all the time, but it will. My lawyer, I think said it best. He was talking to me. He was a good man. And he cared. And he said, his mom lost his dad. Bart, my lawyer was young when his dad died. And he remembered his grandmother played a significant role in his life and she lived to a ripe old age. And I think he said like the day before she died, she's like, I'm going to see my son again. And it just goes to show like, I think it was decades and decades and decades after she never stopped missing her baby. And it never ends, but that's beautiful, right? Because that love lasts that long. And I think that it teaches you a lot about love and that, my love can travel anywhere. It can be effortless. And so I just thought that was cool. Not, cool in that she lost her kid, but that she missed him and loved him even without seeing him for so many years. And that the day before she died, her thought was, I'm gonna see my son.
I listened to a podcast and there was an episode about grief and it was talking mostly about how you can support people long term because that missing that person doesn't end, that love doesn't end. And she was saying, well, I still feel like there's days where I can't get out of bed and it's been a very long time. She said 27 years. And the therapist was looking at her and he said, well, yeah, I mean, how long are they going to be gone? And when you think about it that way, it's realistic to keep feeling that and you have to recognize that with other people that pain they feel. I mean, how long is that baby going to be gone?
And it's true. The baby's always going to be gone. And, birthdays are always hard. Death days are harder. And now I know, Danielle, you have to celebrate both, or maybe not celebrate, but endure both. It's on Carsen's birthday, I don't want to say lucky, but I have the luxury of today is the day she was born. It's a celebration. 2 days from now, I get 2 days to, I get the happy day and I get the day where I grieve. and it's separate. And so, those days are always hard. Seeing 3-year-olds are always hard right now. I'm sure it's the same with you when you see kids that are about Gavin's age. It just never ends, but it's because love doesn't, right? It doesn't end. There's no period in this. It's just forever going on. I think about the kids she's with up there in heaven, that's my personal belief. And I think about it, but it makes me happy because I'm sure she has friends.